Lewis reflects on his role with iBuy
The
Power.
iBuy Power stuff is incredibly hard for me to even reconcile because, so to talk about the relationship I had with Steele, I don't know if Steele knows this, I don't know if Josh knows. I mean, I genuinely love that guy. You know, like, he's a good friend. We used to hang out at all the lands when he was playing in UK teams. He stayed at my house when MTW...
Before I take this seriously, what the fuck, Richard? Bro, button that shit up, or the guy with the camera, tell him something, bro. I could see his fucking, what's it called? His fucking belly button hair. But anyway, let's go on.
Messed him all over. He is a good guy, and I don't care what anyone says about him. I'm never going to renounce him as a person. It's ridiculous. And he did a bad thing, a silly thing. And, you know, look, I really like Dazed as well. Sam was a bit of an egotist, but he was the king of the NA scene. I guess you do get an ego. He was a self-made man. He had a business. I didn't know Swag so much. I knew AZK from his time in Dynamic when he was a
This is like such upbeat music for him, for what he's saying, right?
star player. Super nice guy, model professional, had always done interviews with me and been really cool. And they did a silly thing. And I wish, you know, if I could go back in time, I wish that we could have just admitted it. And then I think they get a slap on the wrist and Sivo ban them. And we're not here now in the current landscape. And you might go, well, Richard, you know, you're either, there's two schools of thought. Richard, you got them banned. How dare you? It's disgusting. The other is they did it to themselves. Thank you, Richard, for keeping us safe from match fixers. Both of those mindsets don't chime with me at all. Here's what should have happened. They should have been exposed for throwing that one match that they did. At that point, every league and tournament organizer should have started doing investigations. Valve should have started doing investigations. We should have started looking into records, betting transactions, everything. And we should have aired all of the dirty laundry there and then we should have punished everyone commensurate to their sins. And fixing one meaningless game in Sivo, I don't want to break it to anybody, it's not, a life ban isn't fair. I don't believe that. I didn't sign up for that. And I shouldn't have to feel guilty because of that punishment. And I wrestle with it every day. And some days I wake up and I go, if I knew it was going to be a lifetime ban, I wouldn't have done it. And then other days I wake up and I go, you know what, it was the right thing to do because I care about the community and I want them to know that the games are genuine. And if we all start having fake games, what are we all doing? So I wrestle with that. I really do. And I hate it. I hated watching Steel and Dazed when they were streaming after it happened and watching them clearly depressed and clearly unwell and, you know, and agitated, having to watch somebody you care about, having to watch people you respect go to the depths of depression and misery, and knowing that you've contributed to that is not a nice feeling. And you know, I'm glad we've been able to move past it and we can have a good relationship. You know, me and Dazed have talked about it. Me and Steele have talked about it. I'm heartbroken for Swag. I think he's a phenomenal talent. And it's just really hard. It's really hard to know, like you want some sort of overarching common sense to prevail. And by that I mean, there's got to be a way everybody can feel good about what happened. And that is that, yes, we punished somebody who did something wrong. They've learned a valuable lesson from it. The scene has learned a valuable lesson from it. Other professionals have learned a valuable lesson from it. And I don't get sleepless nights over trying to do the right thing for the greater good. But I don't exist in that reality right now. So the iBuy Power stuff is, a lot of people say it made my career. I hope that's not true. And yeah, I got a lot of, you know, I don't want to say regrets, but yeah, I'm not happy with if this is the final chapter of the story, it shouldn't have ended like this.
My thoughts real quick on this. First off, I agree with a lot of the stuff he says about they shouldn't have been banned. And I've always said this from day one, they shouldn't have been banned for that long. They shouldn't have been banned for longer than a year, in my opinion, because the reality of the situation is, and no one will admit this from Richard Lewis or any of the people behind the scenes that did a lot of research, but there's other pros that had links to, I don't want to say through, I don't want to say because I'm not sure, that if they threw but there's links to other people betting on themselves or against themselves or whatever. There's proof of that. When they when they went into the iBuy Power thing, they found a whole lot of pros in the pro scene that had it done as well. Just so people know, a lot of people, and it got all swept under the rug. Okay, everything, and no one spoke about it. No one spoke about it. It was ridiculous. It was like the biggest cover up in. And I'm not going to mention these teams. A lot of you could figure out who they were if you just look at like just Google the history. But there's teams that legitimately, I almost bought their way out of it. Like they just fucking probably paid someone off, or someone said this or someone said like, it's such because like the people that got reported on it are the ones that were the only ones who had no org or no salary, nothing. They just got thrown under the bus. And to the point where he talks about Steele as a good human. Steele is a piece of shit. Like I don't care what anyone says. I'm someone who considered that guy my fucking friend at one point, and I did so much for that mother. He's a scumbag. Okay, that's the end of it for me. Like that's my opinion on him. He has his own opinion about like Steele is some great fucking guy. Like he's not. Like he really isn't. Like if you know the guy, and I know him, no one could tell me I don't know him because I can spend real fucking time with this guy, so I know how he is. Okay, that's my opinion on Steele. So you, Richard, for that. But and then Richard's one of my fucking closest friends in esports. Moving on, the ban made Dazed and Steele more successful than they would have ever been as pro gamers, and that's a fucking fact. I don't care what you say, you cannot prove. And by success, I mean maybe not success in terms of the reputation, but success in terms of their actual life, their livelihood. What got a lot better from this ban because they focused everything on streaming and they built a stream. That's a fact. No one, you can't tell me anything either. Okay, Brax could have benefited from it. He just decided to just chill back and chill on as a streamer for Cloud9 for a while. So he benefited in a little bit. He didn't benefit. He would have made more as a pro player. That's Brax. AZK is the unluckiest human I've ever met. This is AZK's story. He starts playing Source at the end of Source when everyone stopped playing. He becomes one of the best players in North America at the end of Source when no one played, when there was no money in Source. He spent his whole prime of his CS career as the number 1 player in the US on a team that won every ESA LAN and made no money from it. Okay, barely any money. Then CSGO starts. He joins iBuyPower. They're starting at the early stages. So he's starting. Their team is nuts. They're doing well, right? Right before CSGO blows up, he gets fucking banned. Okay? He gets banned. CSGO, after iBuyPower, if you guys look at how it happened, after iBuyPower ban, CSGO blew the fuck up. Okay? It blew up. AZK went to Overwatch when Overwatch was a small game. Get this. Then, look at this unlucky fucker. Poor guy. So then he's playing Overwatch. He's getting good. He's a pro in Overwatch. He's on a team. They're doing good. They're not getting paid well yet because Overwatch is still small. All of a sudden, he gets unbanned from 1 league, maybe 2, and then he decides, you know what? I'm gonna quit Overwatch to go back to CS:GO because there I have a chance to make professional salary. Guess what happens? He comes back. He's on a team in Premier Mountain Dew League. They're getting no salary. Okay, no salary. And guess who's getting a fucking salary? Overwatch League. Overwatch League just started. It's gonna be pretty big. Every pro in Overwatch League will get paid a really good salary. So now he's missed literally every boat. He missed the CS Source boat. He missed the CSGO boat. He's missing the Overwatch boat. What's next for this guy? I don't know. He's the most unlucky human. He's bad luck Brian. AZK is a guy who gave his life to Counter-Strike, and he never got to truly benefit from it as a pro. Like an actual pro making a salary that you could live on, that you could go out and get credit. You could go out, buy a new car. You could go out, buy a house, put a down payment on it. All this shit comes from being a pro for a long period of time. He's been a pro player for all that time, but he hasn't done any of that because he's just unlucky. With that being said, at the end of the day, I disagree with the Valve ban on them. They shouldn't have been banned for more than a year. I honestly think that the fact that there were no rules in place, that they shouldn't have even been banned for 1 year. There was no rules in place. No one knew. Back then, you guys don't understand. Sivo forced us to play in matches because Sivo used to make money off CSGO Lounge. So Sivo literally used to force us into these games so that they could go out and say, hey, this many people watch our game. Look how many people bet on our games. We're a big league. Come buy us. And they sold. Sivo sold to, what was it, MLG? They literally, it's like, how is that fair? How is Sivo forcing teams to play. I got in fights with Sivo before because I said, hey, we don't want our match on CS:GO Lounge because people DDoS us because they want to win. So all our players get DDoSed and then people lose skins and we get fucking blamed for it. Take us off, and they wouldn't do it. Okay, so Sivo is a scumbag for that. They force every single match. That's it. Back then, that's how it was. No one talks about this thing. There should have been the cover up of the pro teams. There's pro fucking teams, guys. Pro fucking teams that threw that bet on themselves, that bet against themselves, and they got away with it. There's a shit ton of pros that did this. Pros that are still pros today. Look, I'm dying. No.